Dear God, I'm ready for your help in removing from me these defects of character which I now realise are an obstacle to my recovery. Help me to continue being honest with myself and guide me towards spiritual and mental health. Amen. It's with much love and gratitude that the group welcomes young Elle to come and share with us. Over to you, Young.
Katie, and thank you for the invite. Hi everyone, my name's Young. I'm a very grateful recovered addict. I'm going to start with a prayer. It's one that I just wrote the other morning. God, help me not demand an outcome. Each day and each moment will unfold exactly how it's meant to. Enable me to be part of the unfolding. Am I entirely ready to lay down and be? Or am I still trying to become? And I wasn't going to read that, but then it just came into my mind, and it just reminded me of step 7. I know I'm doing 6 and 7 in this meeting. 6 and 7, it's the name of the meeting. And Joe and Charlie, they used to call these the pinnacle of the program, where the changes really start to begin, where I'm going through another surrender. I'm laying myself down and I'm saying, God, do whatever you want with me. So I'm a recovered addict. Any newcomers, welcome. What we have here is a beautiful, life-changing, life-saving, invigorating program. These beautiful 12 steps which have absolutely transformed my soul, because I came in a broken soul. I certainly didn't come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous thinking, do you know what I really need in my life? I need God. I need a spiritual awakening. I need to be connected to this inner resource deep inside my soul. I didn't do that. I came in thinking, I just need to stop using. I need a job. I need money. I need a girlfriend. I need Nike Air Max. Because that's what my ego and my mind focused on, the external. It can never see the truth on its own. It can never see the truth on its own. Thank God for my brokenness. Thank God for my drug addiction, because that was the thing that's put me onto this path where I'm starting to see the truth about my existence itself. And for any newcomers, I certainly didn't know this, and I still don't know a lot when I came in. All I knew was I was very sick and I couldn't do anything about it. I talk about, we talk about practicing these principles in all our affairs. When I came to you, I just practiced defects of character in all my affairs. Demanding, wanting, needing, wanting you to be different than what you had the power to be, just so I could be comfortable. But I was so blind to all these things because I'd spent so many years in the wilderness of my soul, in the darkness. Battered so many times by King Heroin, King Alcohol, King Cocaine, blah, 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 blah. Not knowing that was my ticket. And that sounds weird to say that, because when I was new in, and you guys would say things like, I'm a grateful addict, I just wanted to say, shut up. What do you mean? I don't understand what that meant. I didn't understand, but I knew you weren't lying. But I couldn't really get to grips with what you were saying. But your eyes didn't lie. Your heart didn't lie. Your kindness didn't lie. Your soul did not lie. So when I came in this time, because I was one of these in and outers of the 12-step rooms for years, and I would not recommend doing that. I know I'm a miracle today. I know you're a miracle. I've woken up to that truth. But I just thought I was a waste of space. Why can't I be a father? Why can't I stop using, even after treatment centre? Even after all these places that I'm trying to get fixed? Why can't I fix myself? Why can't I stay away from the first one? And I didn't understand that when I take out alcohol or drugs out of my system, all I've done is cut off a top of a weed, and I haven't got to the root of the problem. And so if I cut a top of a weed off, it just grows back. I didn't understand that my drugs and my alcohol was just my medicine to ease my way through life, because without it, it just feels so spiky and so scary. And so I certainly don't see the miracle of it. I think it's a burden. I think life itself is a burden. There's my death. I'm ticking towards it, and I think it's a burden, and I can't wait for it to happen. I'm so asleep. I'm so asleep. And I'm not sure why, but I was thinking about coming in and out as I did for years, because sometimes I can forget this. Because this time around, I feel like I've been lit on fire from day one, this time around. And my clean date is Christmas Eve 2018. And from that moment to this, just something continues to happen to my soul. Because I'm seeking God. I have a primary purpose. To grow in the image of my Creator today. But it took me a lot of pain and misery to get there. And I think about that first detox unit, Salvation Army, East London, and my first sponsor. Because I had sponsors over the years. I just didn't use them. When they would say, oh, let's do some work, I just thought, I don't really need to do that. I missed the memo that this was a spiritual program about getting connected to power. God, spirit, power. I missed that. 10 years in the rooms, and I missed what the whole point of the 12 steps was. I didn't know what I didn't know. Perhaps I just wasn't ready, because I think all the ingredients has to come into play. For me, certainly. And so this time around, after losing everything in my life many times over, after ending up, a hopeless drug dealer on the streets of East London, hopeless, just doing what I'm doing so I've got enough smack so I don't get ill, so I can have a bottle of vodka so I'm not like that. Just that's what I was reduced to, and I thought that was my problem. But it wasn't. The self was the problem. This selfishness, self-centeredness. It's been such a wonderful discovery process, this 12 steps, this design for living, this way of life. Because I thought I would do my 12 steps. I've done my 12 steps. Can I have a certificate? Can I have a band playing for me? I'm done now. See you later. Not going to these stupid meetings. You're all annoying. See you later. I didn't know that it was about a life of love and service. That's what I'd signed up to, and I had no idea. I thought I needed to work on myself. And someone laughed at me when I said that. I need to work on myself. I need to work on myself. And they said, how's that going for you so far? You've been trying to work on yourself for the last 7 to 10 years in and out of these treatment centres. How's it going, young? And I will jump into 6 and 7. I'm just flowing around. 10 o'clock at night for me, as some of you know, it feels like 3 a.m. Because the first time I did 6 and 7, a beautiful teacher, they said, right, you got to work on your defects. Don't work for me. I need the Spirit to work through me in all areas of my life. And it all started with step 1. And like my sponsor often says, young, it never gets more difficult than step 1. And I find out, finally, after many years of bouncing in and out of these rooms, what it is I suffered from. Because often when I would go to drug rehabilitation centres, alcohol rehabilitation centres, hospitals, detoxes, local drug and alcohol agencies. And whenever I'm saying this, I'm never putting anyone down. They're doing the best they can. But they're often not like me. They don't suffer from this twist of the mind. They don't suffer from this allergy of the body. So they gave me, and again, I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm the creator of all my problems today, like I always was. They gave me the wrong diagnosis. What do I mean by that? Well, after 4 treatment centres, I believed the answer to my problems was keeping busy and going to the gym. Keeping busy and going to the gym. Keeping positive. Reading affirmations. Writing gratitude lists. All these things that can be fine. but they don't get me to the necessary spiritual awakening. And those words themselves used to scare me. Spiritual awakening, psychic change, the word God. I refused to say it for the first 2 years. I refused to say the word God. And then I had to look into that rather than just dismiss, saying, oh, you're stupid, young. Let's look into it. Why do you feel so spiky against that word God? And then we looked into that. But it all started with step 1. So I found out what I suffer from, untreated, is an illness centered in my mind that will never go away. Untreated, unrecovered. It will always come back, and many of you have heard me share this, like the Terminator. I'll be back, always. That's been my experience, unrecovered. As much as I tried, the same as defects of character, as much as I tried to get rid of this illness, and I don't want this to come back, I don't want to drink, I don't want to use, I don't want to be in a crack house, I want to see my kids. Bang, my head always twisted, because there's the main power. That's the real powerlessness that comes before the first one, when I really don't want it. So I discovered that strongly. It was almost like, how did I not see that before? How did I not see that before? And then suddenly I knew I was going to do it again. And so this time, when you guys start talking about God and spirit and power, I stop arguing. Lack of power, that's your dilemma, you said. Lack of power, not lack of money, lack of women, lack of shoes, lack of this, lack of power. This is why you keep going back out. Not because of your trauma, because you got tortured as a kid, because of this, because of that. It's lack of power. So on a simple note, if powerlessness is your problem, you need to get to some power. And it keeps coming back to that in every step. In step 2, it's about, me having this willingness to believe that this power might work for me. In step 3, I'm making this decision to turn my will and my life to this power. In step 4, I need some help to write this thing, because I don't want to write it. My ego does not want to reveal itself to you, because I'm scared. Because my pride does not want to allow me to tell you the truth about me, that I feel vulnerable, that I've done some bad things in my life, that I've hurt people. Because my head will say things like, yeah, but I'm not really like that. I'm not really like that. I need help. God, please help me. Lack of power is my dilemma. I need to get to some power. And then each step coming up to 6 and 7 is a shift for me. I'm slowly shifting. I'm slowly letting this divine power of God shape me and shift me slowly. I'm slowly grasping and developing this manner of living, this way of life, just by following some stuff, quite mechanically at first. Quite mechanically, because I'm like the ballerina. Oh, put your leg up there, and I'm just following the motions until one day I'm like the black swan or something. No, I'm really not. I told you I'm tired. But you get what I'm saying. From this mechanical movement, something starts shifting in me, but I don't even know it's happening. And this is my truth. And when I say this, I still cannot believe this. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. I was a mad dog drug addict. Used to rob and steal and, outside the methadone plate, all that stuff, man. When I came into you, I literally looked like I'd been dug up, and I had one bag of clothes. That's where I come from. I never want to forget that. But this is the beauty about sponsorship. When I'm working with that guy who was me, it reminds me of where I come from, and I never want to forget that. I will never take my sobriety for granted. Never. I'm never going to take my life for granted either. Because it was always... It used to feel like a struggle. Life used to feel like a struggle. And it doesn't today. Thank God. So I picked up drugs at the age of 11. So young, just a little kid in his little shorts, sniffing glue and getting up to all sorts. I loved trouble when I was a kid. I loved it. It took me out of me. I felt different. Everyone was called David or John and I was called Young. In the 80s, that wasn't a good name to be called, man. I'm telling you, in a little town, which wasn't London, I'm the only kid that looks like me and I feel different and people are picking on me and I'm fighting because that's what I was taught, to fight. But that's what I had to give up when I came in. I had to give up the fight. And it went against every instinct inside me just to stop fighting, Young. Because I was taught to fight. But I have to stop fighting. And as I start going through these steps, I stop trying and I start relying on God, on the Spirit within. I stop trying. I stopped trying. I stopped trying to sound good. I stopped trying to impress you. But it was a process, and it is a process for me. I've only been on the path 6 and a bit years, so I'm still like a baby in the sense that I'm 49 years old. I'm 50 this year. I can't believe that. I'm 50 years old this year. I thought I was going to die before. You know, in my 20s, I was a mad dog drug addict. In my 20s. And I'm going to make 50, hopefully. I can't believe that. And so I picked up at 11 and I stopped at 43. Well, I don't think I stopped. I think I was given a window of opportunity, and I think the grace, just something, just this small window of opportunity that I dived through with all my heart and enthusiasm. I dived through this window of opportunity. And I think if I hadn't have done that, my children probably wouldn't have a father today. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. And so for all those years, I used and I drank like a mad dog. That's where I was going with that. On my first step 5 that I did, I've never thought about drinking or using since then. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. I was obsessed by drugs. I was involved in that world for so long. It consumed me. When I was a little kid, this is how much I was interested in these substances. When everyone had posters of like Madonna and 5 Star, I had a poster of Zammo, you know, gouching out on smack. That was me as a kid. I was fascinated. Yeah, I want to try that. Most kids weren't thinking that. Why did I think that? Because I wanted to get out of my head, because I hated it in there. I hated it. I couldn't bear this craziness of my mind, which was very unkind to me. He used to tell me I wasn't good enough. I was ugly. I was a loser. Never going to amount to nothing. Blah, blah, blah. You know, do. So when I got that sense of ease and comfort through those substances, it was all my dreams come true. But unfortunately, what was heaven led to hell. But then you guys now have led me back into heaven. Right here, right now. And so from that first step 5, I've never thought about using and drinking. That's. But then, this is the bonus prize. I would have taken that. But then so much more starts happening as I start getting onto the path. Rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows this path. Right, I'm going to follow this path thoroughly. I'm going to follow these directions. Rarely have we seen a person who struggles with life, who thoroughly follows this path. That's been my experience also. And I used to always struggle with life. And life comes at me, man. Comes at me. Am I able to be? Am I able to lie down and say, okay? Am I able to accept reality, or am I arguing with reality? Because it's when I'm arguing with reality that I'm in pain. When these defects of character come out all over the shop. And so I do this step 5. I reveal things that I felt ashamed of embarrassed. And the guy who was doing it with me just looked at me and went, all right. I thought, what? Because I don't know what I was expecting. And then I see my defects of character. That's what I see in my step 5. How I remember getting to the end of step 5, that hour quiet time, that reflection, meditation, prayer, the instructions. And I thought, how have I lived so long on this planet, so angry and so impatient and so jealous and so self-pitying and so fearful? Well, the answer was alcohol, cocaine, heroin. That's how I'd lived. But now I need to find a power by which I can live, because I either have a lot of heroin, a lot of crack cocaine, a lot of alcohol, or a lot of God. For me, there's no in between. So this is the thing, and I said this to my sponsor earlier on. In the same way, when I take those substances I've just mentioned, I get the phenomenon of craving and I'm beyond human control. I put one in, I want more. Well, the same happens to me with God or spirit. I start feeling this inside my soul, and it creates this phenomenon of craving. But it doesn't give me a nod. It makes me want to embrace life. It makes my heart softer. Because my heart was hard when I come to you guys. I had a frown on my face. I had this look that said, don't come near me. That's what I come to you like that. And I've been transformed. And I could tell a million stories of me back in the madness doing what I used to do. That guy has gone. That guy doesn't exist anymore. I have been reborn. Absolutely reborn. And so at the end of 5, I get this list of defects of character. And I look at them. And he goes, do you still want to be like that, young? I said, no, I don't. I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be impatient, intolerant, judgmental, prideful, slothful. I don't want to be like this anymore, because now I can see almost like the words start jumping and dancing in front of me like hot flames. And I can think when I am those things, I feel restless. I don't feel good in my soul. I have a frown on my face. I'm arguing with you. I'm stepping on the toes of my fellows. They're retaliating. I'm getting into an argument. And I realise I have to stop fighting, like I've said before. And I realise lack of power is still my dilemma. I need to get to some power. I need some help with this 6 and 7, which becomes more than just a step. Lifelong. Because these defects of character were nothing but a pattern of mental habits that I'd practiced over the years, and they become a part of my personality. I'm a reactor to life. I never sit there and, say if me and Katie were having a chat and she says something that I don't like, I don't think, do you know what? I'm going to be angry with Katie. It just happens. I used to go to 0 to lose my shizzle like that. Bang, bang, dan, da, da, da. Every treatment centre that I've been in, I got into fights with people. Every single one. They weren't the problem. I was the problem. And I had quite an awakening in my last treatment centre, one in Scarborough. I had another sort of fight. I say fight, it's all fisticuffs in treatment centres, putting out your chest and all that. But it was one of those. I'm not backing down. And I'd said something really unkind to this guy about his wife, because that's the sort of person that I was. Why did I say it? Because I wanted everyone else to laugh. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be popular. I needed that because my self-esteem was so bad that I needed to try and humiliate someone else so I could feel good. I didn't know I did this stuff. I was so blind to the self, because the self doesn't reveal the self. It always comes to the conclusion that I'm right and you're wrong. And so we got into it, and I got sent upstairs. And I remember lying down thinking, oh, God, Why always these people? Why always me? Why always me? And then suddenly it was literally like, you're the problem, Young. You're the problem. And it was like an do you know what? It was an awakening. Suddenly what is an awakening? I suddenly see things that I can't see. I feel things that I suddenly felt bad for humiliating this guy. I'm suddenly feeling slightly different. I'm reacting slightly different. I have remorse for what I've done. Wow. That's the first time I've said all that, actually. And as I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, that was really pivotal. Because I don't see these things when I'm going through them. And so I don't want to be like that anymore. You know, step 6 and step 7 are combination steps. They're steps we do together, steps I do together, lifelong steps. I'm always going to have defects of character. Always. Because I thought 6 and 7 were like some magical steps that, yeah. And then suddenly I'm white as snow and I'm never going to, no. No. I'm a lot less selfish. Doesn't mean I'm not selfish. I'm a lot less angry. Doesn't mean I don't get angry. Although I can't remember last time I did get angry. But you get where I'm coming from. God shapes me. God meets me where I am. Maybe I need to feel the pain of being jealous one more time so that I become more ready. Like step 6 is all about the willingness. You know, I was a very angry kid. My mum, alcoholic, still an active alcoholic. She used to beat me very badly. She used to, whatever, this is being recorded. I'm not going to get too much into it. She wasn't the best mum, but she didn't have the ability to be the best mum. You know, I found compassion for that woman today. I recently went down and made some amends to her, actually. And I felt closer to God. I said, I'm sorry I haven't been the best son. What can I do to put it right, Mum? So step 6 is about this willingness. I was a very angry kid. And when I didn't get what I wanted, I would kick off. And my mum would just give me something to shut me up. Some Finder's crispy pancakes or something. Shut up, you know. And I'd like that. So my young mind learns that I don't know they're called defects of character, but this anger, it works. It gets me what I want. And then I go to school and I do the same. When I want what, I'd start kicking off. Gets me what I want. Go to secondary school. Yeah, still working. But now I'm an adult acting like a child. And it's not working for me anymore. And I'm starting to have arguments with people, etc., etc., etc. So now, when I get to step 6 and 7, 6 is the willingness. Is it objectionable to be angry for me today? Yes, it is. And step 7, in its most simple form, is less me, more God. So lack of power is my dilemma. Again, going back to step 1, it keeps on going back to step 1. I need to seek power. I need help. I don't want to be this person. It's objectionable to me. It blocks me off. These defects of character block me from being kind and useful and loving and tolerant. And now I'm on a mission. Now I'm on a mission. Now I've got a sense of purpose and direction, and it's to be a humble servant. That's it. If I'm full of these defects of character, I can't be what I'm meant to be. And I look at, you know, 6 and 7 kind of related to step 3. You know, they all kind of, for me, they kind of just start dancing into each other. In step 3, it says, you know, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, it says. Where do all my defects of character come from? Fear. Every single one of them. Fear is the chief activator of all my defects of character. So at the root of my troubles are defects of character. And then when I do a step 4, where it says, I look for my own mistakes. Where was I? Selfish, dishonest, self-seeking. So I'm looking for my defects of character. And then after 6 and 7, when I get to step 10, it says I continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty. There's a theme. And then end of night review, step 11. Where was I? Selfish. So these are just the things that block me from God, from happiness, from peace, from joy. The defects of character are my difficulties. The defects of character, the flaws in my makeup, which cause the trouble in my life today, as they always did. And so what's happened to me, on one hand, this when I came into you, 43 years old, I was a 43-year-old boy in a man's body. I was a boy, a child, adolescent maybe at best. Because who else acts like that when they don't get their own way? Angry. A child. A child. Who else demands, I want? A child. So I was a child. I was a child. But then as I flow through these steps, as I start going to God, because I'm now used to going to God. You know, I've been praying since day one. And when I came to you, I always said things like this. I don't know how to pray. I've never prayed. And then I think about those moments. There's been 2 when I've had knives to my throat, almost dying in New York and Barcelona. And when I had nowhere else to go, when I was desperate, I prayed. And God answered my prayer on those days because I didn't die. And that's what I prayed for. And so I'm used to praying in the sense of I've done the step 3 prayer. I'm used to praying because after my inventory, I do the resentment prayer or the sick man's prayer, whatever you want to call it. I do the sex prayer. I do the fear prayer. So I'm getting into the habit, and each time I'm shifting. And I'm praying in the night and I'm praying in the morning. I don't know what I'm praying to, but I'm just doing it. And that's how I know I've surrendered when I look back, because I was doing something that I didn't really understand without questioning it, just doing it. And so when I get to 6 and 7, please help me, God. I need, please help me with some willingness. And so what's happened to me is that from this child, I'm a man today. I've gone through this sort of this maturing process, this emotional sobriety, maybe you might say, I don't know, some might argue. But then on the other hand, my eyes have been transformed back to a child's eyes, not in a childish way, but just full of wonder of life. It keeps happening to me in restaurants, this, and it happened last night. I was down on the harbour having dinner, and there was a little child, really young child, and our eyes locked, literally locked like this. And I felt the spirit in this child, and I thought in that moment, you know, their heart is so pure and empty. That's where I want to be, because it's these defects of character that clutter my heart. It's these barriers I've built through my anger, through my impatience, through my intolerance, through my judgment, through my self-pity. They block me. They clutter my heart. This young child was so pure. That's where I want to get back to. I want what they've got. I want to get back to that purity of heart. That's where I'm going to aim for, and I'm probably going to fall short most days. But I can almost see the light. And this from a hopeless drug addict and alcoholic. This transformation. And where was I? What does it say? Step 6. It says on page 76, if we can answer to our satisfaction this review that I've done after 5, we then look at step 6. We're entirely ready. Am I now ready? Am I entirely ready? When did I come entirely ready? Well, it fluctuates, actually. because I still have defects of character. So obviously there's sometimes I'm not entirely ready. When won't a person be entirely ready? When I blame you for my defects of character. It's your fault I'm angry. It's your fault I'm jealous. I'm not going to God if I think you're the problem. I don't think I'm the problem. I'm not entirely ready when I can't even see, when I'm so asleep, I can't see these defects of character coming out of me. I'm not entirely ready. I'm not entirely ready when I say things like, it's just the way I am. I'm just impatient. I'm just impatient. I'm not entirely ready. But when they become, and this is what happened to me. When I first done my first step 5, I got into 6 and 7 straight after. And, you know, as I said, I was really trying to work on these defects of character and it wasn't happening for me. And, but what I did notice looking back was that suddenly I thought, oh my God, I've got so many more defects of character. I didn't have any more. I just suddenly woke up to what I was. I suddenly had a little bit more awareness. The lights, the awakening was happening. I was being awakened. And what used to be acceptable to me, slowly over time, suddenly stopped being acceptable. I was a very dishonest person. You know, we talk about the things that are indispensable in this program. The who, willingness, honesty, open-mindedness. I was willing from day one. I was open-minded, but honesty took me a bit longer to get there because I'd been a liar for all my life. But over time, even what I used to call little white lies, when someone said to me, young, you're either honest or you're dishonest, you know, and those who do not recover are those who cannot completely get honest with themselves. It started to just not sit right with me. When I was being impatient, it started to just not sit right with me. So it says, we have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. So indispensable means I cannot do without willingness. So lack of power is my dilemma. I need some power to give me some willingness sometimes because I'm stubborn. My self-will is very, very strong. My ego rebuilds, but thank God when I came in, the desperation was screaming louder than my ego. Just for a moment. Just gave me that little moment that I could get connected. And it's through these daily spiritual practices that I can remain small, hopefully, because I need to be small. I need to be small. What does it say? Willingness has been indispensable. Am I now ready to let God remove from me all the things that I've admitted are objectionable? I've started to see these in steps 4 and 5. You know, this is about me letting go of this unpleasant behavior that blocks me, allowing God to mold me and shape me in any way that God wants to. I'm not going to make demands. I want to be like this. I want this. Okay. Do what you want. Do as you wilt, it says. Wilt me up, God. Wilt me up. Do what you want with me. If you want me sweeping the floor as a sweep, I'm doing it, man. Because you've got me this far, Spirit, God, power. You've removed the terrifying drug habit. What else can you do? I'm excited about that. What's my assignment today? I'm excited about that. What else does it say? Can he now take them all? Every one? Question mark. Question mark. What am I still holding on to today? You know, I tell you what I've been holding on to today. I've been holding on to a bit of envy. That's what I discussed tonight with my sponsor. Comparing myself. Looking at what they've got. They've got that rather than looking at the blessings that I've got. Envy. That's what I've held on to today. If we still cling to something, we will not let go. And here's the prayer. We ask God, please help me, God, be willing. Please help me be willing. I don't want to be this man anymore. I can see you've helped me so much up to this moment. Please help me. Please help me. And step 7. Less me, more God. What does that even mean? Less me. Well, if I think about When I don't get what I want, I'm impatient, intolerant, judgmental. That's me. That seems to me my default setting when life doesn't go the way that I want it to go. Less of that. And look, this is just where I'm coming from today. I just like to keep things very simple. You know, the will of God for me doesn't have to be complicated. Of course, I don't know it all the time. Of course, I don't. I don't know but what I do know, when I allow God to work through me, and in spite of me, sometimes I can be kind and loving and patient and tolerant. I feel pretty good in my heart. I've never gone to sleep at night, lying awake, tossing and turning because I've been too kind to someone. But I've lay awake at night because I've been unkind to someone. Please help me with that, God. Please continue to shape me. Because when I find out that these defects of character are at the root of my troubles, selfishness, self-centeredness, fear, but that's not the root of me. The root of me is goodness. Like that little child, that's the root of me. I just need to get back to that. So for me, 6 and 7 is about this uncovering, discovering, discarding, getting this mining, getting to this gold, this inner gold inside me that God helps me with, so I can have a purposeful life of service and love and usefulness and less God, more me. So I can allow God to use me like an instrument, like a divine instrument, rather than this hopeless drug addict that reached you guys on Christmas Eve 2018 who wished for death. Wow. It blows my mind. This ongoing development of the soul that I'm just allowing to happen if I'm relying and not trying. Because me trying, the defects of character. Me relying, maybe still some defects of character, but maybe I can see why they're coming up. Maybe they're a message for me. You know, and I'll share this very quickly before I end with a prayer. I went on a spiritual retreat recently, and they had an outdoor chapel, and I was praying every morning. And the last morning I went and I knelt down at the chapel, and I knelt down and I just started weeping uncontrollably. And I've been trying to work out where these tears came from, and I still don't know, and maybe I don't need to know, but maybe it was me becoming more willing to have God remove these defects of character. Maybe it was another layer. Maybe, I don't know. So if we still cling to something, we'll not let go. We ask God to help us be willing. Help me, God. When ready, we say something like this. Am I willing to be one now with God? Am I willing? Am I willing to allow this power to shape me with no conditions on it? My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad, because I'm not all good and I'm not all bad. I'm just a very flawed human being, like perhaps the first human, Adam, who couldn't control his defects of character and ate that apple. And it's like that. It's almost like that, these defects. It's almost like suddenly Adam, I'm naked. Suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I'm like this and I'm like this. But actually, everything's well. And it's like the step 3 prayer. It's like they dance into each other, don't they? You know, in step 3 prayer, I'm saying, do whatever you want with me. Please take me, God. I'm broken. Please shape me. I make a mess of my life. Please help me. Lack of power is my dilemma. Please help me, God. I'm willing that you should now have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. So these things that are getting in the way of my usefulness, not what I decide, I don't want to be like this, what's getting in my way of my usefulness. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Please grant me some strength. Amen. We've then completed step 7. So for me, these are just beautiful lifelong steps done in combination. I see this stuff, I become willing, and I go to this power that's removed this drug problem. What else can it do? I hope I've said something that's helped someone tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me, guys. It's always a real privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Young. Thank you for your share. You were heard. Appreciate you and grateful you're here. Let's take a moment. My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me the strength as I go out here to do your bidding. Amen. I'd now like to hand the meeting back to Young to take us out with a prayer or reading of your choice.
Thank you, Kate. I've got a reading from a book called The Way to the Kingdom by Joseph Benner that I'm studying with my sponsor. You will remember that this experience came when you were shepherding your thoughts during the night period, when all seemed most dark and you were sustained only by the faith born of your long seeking. It was then that a glow of wonderful light flooded your night of waiting, and a song as of angels filled your consciousness. In deepest humility, you sought to know the meaning of it all, and you soon found there was cradled in your heart a tender, beautiful, all-compelling love that from then on filled and possessed you, and gradually grew in power until it influenced and inspired much of your thinking, speech, and actions. Thank you.